The Perch King by Matthew DeLuca. A middle-aged man stood at the rocky shore of the lake. His hair, brown with a tint of gray, blew in the wind that swept off the shores of the lake. As the wind subsided, he lifted his eyelids to allow his blue eyes to stare over the placid waters as if they were a beautiful painting. A memory of a time in his life that he wished to relive over and over again. The man stood motionless for several minutes until two children, a boy around 10 years of age and a beautiful young girl 2 years the boy's senior, came to him in a running sprint. The boy threw his arms around his legs and laughed while the girl stood a few feet behind with an innocent smile on her face. The man let his hand drop to the boy's hair and looked at the girl with the most sincere smile. He looked toward a woman sitting at the top of the hill. He waved to his wife and looked back towards his children as his daughter spoke to him. "Mom told us to come get you. We want to go out on the boat today." "Yeah, Dad, when are we going fishing?" his son chimed in. His daughter cringed and turned at the thought of fishing, which made the man laugh. "We'll go fishing when your mom and sister go shopping later." The mention of shopping made his daughter perk up a little. The man started to lead his children toward the boathouse, waving at his wife to come with them. "Would you kids like to hear a story about fishing?" His son shouted his approval while his daughter scoffed at the request, so he tried to lure her in. "It's a love story, with just a little bit of magic to it." Again his daughter's head turned back slightly toward him, with a thin smile on her lips. The man recalled the stories he had heard from his childhood about the supernatural surroundings of the lake and his time spent there as a young man. He began to tell his story to his children, but, before he began, he chose to abridge some elements. There were certain things that even his children shouldn't know. So the actual incidents of the story as his guide, the man told his children a tall tale of a big fish. The men and women that were often seen around Table Rock Lake in western Missouri were mostly weekenders and summer residents, so they sparsely heard tales of the Perch King that spread among the permanent residents of the area. The Perch King, a great water monster that legend says lives in the lake, was a favorite tale among the youth of the area. Children marveled at the tale of a great fish that swam under their feet as they swam, speculating over the mystery of the fish. The stories from which this mystery originated, however, were told by the old fishermen that spent most of their nights downtown. These old men told people of a great creature that they had once hooked while fishing late at night. The fish was so powerful that it pulled their boats for hours until they came to a small lagoon at the end of the lake. The men could sometimes point out the exact location of the lagoon later on, but after one sight of the fish, the men never saw it again. The legend of the fish spread, and over the years, more and more fishermen had begun to tell of the great fish speaking to them. After pulling the boat toward the secluded lagoon, the fish would rear its enormous head out of the lake and grant them a single wish. The fish would only grant wishes of love, however. Unlike most supernatural beings of lore, he was able to make people fall in love with the wisher. The men who claimed to encounter the fish would then show off their beautiful wives, claiming that the great Perch King was responsible for their love. The wishes came with a catch, however. The fish would tell the fishermen that until their love with another was purely mutual, they would become cursed with a great affliction. Indeed, many fishermen over the years became plagued with various diseases after entering into a new relationship, only to become completely cured when the couple was married. To this day, some people think that the tale of the fish is merely a fanciful myth. But 15 years ago, a young man, fresh out of college, found the great fish and knew from what he experienced that night that the story was true. Taylor had come to the lake where his family had been vacationing for years in order to see his old college friends Craig and Becca. It had been 2 months since Taylor had seen his friends. They graduated college in May and had each moved hundreds of miles away from Miami University of Ohio, where they attended college. In July, Taylor had an idea for them all to spend a long weekend at his family lake house on Table Rock Lake. Taylor and Craig were excited about a long weekend of fishing, and Becca was excited to spend a weekend relaxing in the sun. Craig and Taylor had been best friends since randomly rooming together 4 years ago, and even through 4 years of college, never really grew apart. The two were opposites in almost every sense. Taylor was a careful, straight-laced man just shy of average height, and had a relatively slender build, while Craig was a risk-taking, impulsive giant, hovering well over 6 foot with a wide-set build. Becca joined their close-knit group their sophomore year. She was a handsome woman with wavy brown hair, a thin, unblemished face, emerald green eyes, and a trim but not extremely skinny body. She fit in well with the boys. She was the type of girl who never seemed to be able to relate to other women, finding her space more easily among the boys. Taylor in particular never found himself short of a good conversation with Becca. For all of her comfort with men, however, Becca could not hide her femininity. Her smile, which was made more with her eyes than her mouth, her soft nature, and her kindness and her effortless beauty, sometimes gave Craig and Taylor pause when they, as usual, tried to treat her as one of the guys. Despite wanting to see his two best friends, Taylor had ulterior motives in planning the trip. He wanted to bring his new friend Kate to spend the weekend with the three of them. Kate was a beautiful young woman who Taylor had met when he began working at his contracting firm in June. Kate was slim and petite. She had flowing blonde hair, dyed and pressed to artificial perfection, and blue eyes that were so light they appeared, at first glance, to be gray. Taylor was very taken with Kate, and thought that the weekend would be a good chance for her to start to fall for him as well. She was beautiful. Her face was delicate and full, hinting at the buttery smooth feel of her skin. I longed to simply touch her face, to feel her skin against mine. Every time I looked at Kate, I wanted to pull her towards me and kiss her, as if I was an impulsive hero in an action movie, or a suave Lothario in a romance flick. I couldn't bring myself to be that impulsive, however, and could simply speak, listen, and befriend her. Bringing Kate to the lake would change all that. She could see me among my old friends. Craig could sneak hints of our potential as romantic partners, and Becca could subtly brag about my best qualities from a woman's perspective. She always had something complimentary about me, even if I had nothing good to think about myself. Yes, it all should have been perfect. On the afternoon of their arrival, the four young people took Taylor's family boat out on the water. Kate and Becca were content with lying on the boat, letting the sun rays beat down on them and darken their soft, fair skin. Craig and Taylor decided to save their fishing for the following morning, when they could go out while the girls slept. They jetted around the water, enjoying each other's company and talking about their experiences with each other in college. Becca was wrapped in attention as Taylor recounted the story of Becca's New Year's party at the dawn of 2009, when the hostess missed the countdown to midnight while in a light argument with Taylor over the best movies of the past year. Taylor would attempt to include Kate in the conversation by asking about her college experiences. With a flip of her hair, she would smile without showing her teeth, saying she was content to hear about the past 4 years from their perspective. Taylor noticed, however, that she simply wasn't paying attention to their tales. He would ask her a question and she would appear not to hear him. He would laugh and she would stay silent. Whenever she would stand up to get a drink from the back of the boat, she seemed lost in her own world. Taylor began to wish there was something he could do to regain that attention. She seemed like the type of girl who really needed it.